Most men spend their entire lives chasing something: more money, more success, more approval, more relationships, more responsibilities. They keep running, believing that happiness is waiting somewhere just ahead. But then something unexpected happens. They reach their 60s, and for the first time, they stop running. That's when many older men discover a shocking truth. The peace they spent decades searching for was never found in achievement, status, or validation. It was found in letting go, and for many men, that realization comes far too late. In the field of developmental psychology, the first half of a man's life is defined by addition, acquiring skills, gathering resources, and building an identity. But the second half of a man's life is defined entirely by subtraction. It is the art of stripping away the unnecessary until only the essential remains. Today, we are going to explore the psychology of the sovereign man. We will dissect the 7 profound layers of peace that older men discover, and why the ultimate tragedy of masculinity is that it takes 60 years to give yourself permission to simply exist. Let us uncover the truth. Point number 1. The peace of not needing to impress anyone. When men are young, they often feel trapped in an endless invisible competition. In psychology, there is a concept known as the imaginary audience. It is the persistent belief that the world is a stage and everyone is constantly evaluating your performance. Young men want to prove themselves, to friends, to family, to society, sometimes even to complete strangers. They buy cars they cannot afford, work jobs that make them miserable, and curate a superficial persona, all to manage the optics of their success. But after decades of trying to impress everyone, many older men finally realize something incredibly liberating. Most people were never paying as much attention as they imagined. The truth is, society is entirely self-absorbed. Once an older man internalizes this psychological reality, the heavy, suffocating pressure completely disappears. He no longer cares if his truck is 10 years old. He no longer cares if his clothing is unfashionable. He no longer feels the need to interject in conversations just to prove his intelligence. He retires the exhausting full-time job of public relations for his own ego. And with that retirement comes a deep, profound sense of freedom. He realizes that the only applause that ever truly mattered was the quiet approval of the man in the mirror. Point number 2. The peace of saying no. From the moment a man enters adulthood, he is conditioned to be the ultimate utility. Many men spend the vast majority of their lives saying yes. Yes to obligations, yes to requests, yes to responsibilities they never actually wanted. We suffer from the martyr complex, believing that our value is strictly determined by how much of ourselves we can sacrifice for others. But only later do we discover the brutal mathematics of compliance. Every unnecessary yes cost us time, energy, and peace. After the age of 60, a man's emotional and physical bandwidth naturally diminishes, and it is in this biological limitation that many finally learn the terrifying, beautiful power of a simple word: no. And that single word changes everything. No, I will not attend that gathering. No, I will not loan you that money. No, I am not available to solve that crisis. Setting this boundary does not make a man selfish. It makes him sovereign. The older man learns that no is a complete sentence. It requires no justification, no apology, and no elaborate excuse. He realizes that by saying no to the demands of the world, he is finally saying yes to his own survival. Point number 3, the peace of not chasing love. For years, many men believed that happiness absolutely required a romantic relationship. Society programs us to believe that we are only half of a soul, and that our existence is incomplete until we secure a partner. Driven by testosterone and societal expectations, men spend their prime years on an endless, exhausting hunt for validation through romance. But age often reveals a completely different truth. Peace does not come from finding someone. Peace comes from being completely comfortable with yourself. When a man stops chasing, his nervous system undergoes a radical reset. He stops navigating the volatile emotional landscapes of modern dating. He stops decoding mixed signals, managing manufactured drama, and compromising his sanctuary to appease a partner. Many older men discover a reality that younger men cannot fathom. Emotional stability feels infinitely better than emotional excitement. The biochemical highs of new romance are exhausting, But the quiet, unshakable calmness of an empty, peaceful house is a restorative medicine. Once an older man experiences that profound calmness, he permanently stops chasing. He realizes that true love is not an anxious pursuit, and if a relationship threatens his baseline of peace, he will gladly choose the quiet lake over the turbulent storm. Point number 4. The peace of financial simplicity. Young men often chase bigger houses, bigger salaries, more possessions, more status. They operate under the illusion that wealth is defined by accumulation. They spend decades building an empire of objects, only to realize that they have become the janitors of their own possessions. Yet many senior men eventually discover a profound economic truth. True peace has incredibly little to do with accumulation. In fact, peace is found in divestment. As the psychological need to impress others fades, the desire to maintain a massive, complex lifestyle fades with it. The happiest moments often come from absolute simplicity. Less debt, less pressure, less stress, more freedom. The older man realizes that financial freedom is not about having millions of dollars to buy whatever he wants. It is about having so few desires that his current resources make him a king. When he strips away the superficial expenses designed for societal validation, he finds that living simply requires very little. And in that simplicity, he finds a wealth that no billionaire could ever purchase: an unburdened mind. Point number 5. The peace of letting people leave. One of the hardest, most agonizing lessons in the human experience is accepting that not everyone is meant to stay. In our youth, we suffer from the sunk cost fallacy. We grip onto relationships and friendships with white-knuckled desperation. We tolerate disrespect, we endure toxic behavior, and we constantly compromise our own boundaries just to keep people from walking out the door. Some friendships naturally fade, some romantic relationships end. Some people we deeply trusted will inevitably disappoint us. Older men eventually learn a stoic truth. Forcing people to stay only creates prolonged suffering. You cannot negotiate loyalty, and you cannot debate someone into valuing your presence. Peace arrives when a man learns the art of letting go. When someone decides they no longer want to be in his life, the older man opens the door and helps them pack. He does not harbor bitter resentment. He simply accepts the changing of the seasons. He realizes that the removal of inconsistent, draining people is not a loss. It is a mandatory psychological cleansing. Point number 6. The absolute peace of solitude. Many people are terrified of being alone. They view an empty room as a prison cell, and they view silence as an enemy. Older men often discover the exact opposite: a quiet house, a peaceful morning, no drama, no pressure, no constant demands to perform, to entertain, or to provide. We must draw a distinct line between isolation and solitude. Isolation is the pain of feeling disconnected when you crave the tribe. Solitude is the glorious, deliberate state of being connected to yourself. For many senior men, solitude becomes one of life's greatest, most fiercely protected gifts. In solitude, a man is the absolute sovereign of his domain. He answers to no one's timeline but his own. His nervous system, battered by decades of stress, finally heals in the sterile, quiet environment of his own making. He realizes that being happily alone is a superpower that renders him completely immune to the manipulations of the world. Point number 7. The peace they wish they had found 30 years earlier. If you sit down and ask many older men what they regret most, the answers are not about money, missed promotions, or the cars they didn't buy. The answers are surprisingly, heartbreakingly similar. They do not regret having too little. They regret worrying too much, trying too hard, pleasing too many people, and sacrificing far too much of their peace for things that did not matter. The ultimate tragedy is not getting old. The tragedy is realizing how much of your youth was stolen by unnecessary stress. But the triumph is that the realization eventually arrives. Because in the end, the greatest luxury in human life is not wealth. It is not fame. It is not a massive social circle. It is peace of mind. And that is the treasure many men spend a lifetime searching for, only to realize it was waiting for them the moment they decided to stop running. To the younger men watching, let the wisdom of the older generation save you decades of wasted anxiety. Stop running today. And to the older men watching, you have finally found your sanctuary. Never apologize for protecting it. I want to hear from you. Head down to the comments and tell me, What was the exact moment you realized that your peace of mind was more valuable than chasing the world's approval? Share your wisdom. Your scars will guide the men who are still fighting the storm. If this video resonated with your soul, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching. Until next time, guard your sanctuary and rest in your peace.